a lot of people that are new to franchising, they rush in to the process of buying a franchise without really understanding a proven way to do it, a systematical way to research and then buy a franchise. You need to have a process that you follow. That's one reason to work with brokers or consultants. They can really help you through that process. It's much more than just showing you a brand. It's about helping you understand some of the things that we're talking about today.
Representing Franchise Secrets, Erik Van Horn.
Hey, welcome to Franchise Secrets. Today I'm going to talk about how to buy a franchise. I see so many people come into the Facebook group and they are raising their hands saying, I want to buy a franchise, but they don't know where to start. So this episode is for anybody buying a franchise or buying their next franchise. It's basically a step-by-step guide to finding the one that is the right fit for you. Franchising in general contributes $800 billion to the economy in the US. But most people go about buying a franchise the complete wrong way, and it costs them a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of pain and a lot of heartache. So I'm going to break it down to you. You're going to learn how to identify that right one for you, big red flags to watch out for, in particular with the FDD and through validation. And then I'm going to talk about the smartest way to talk to franchisees without just getting surface level answers. A lot of people ask a question, they get a yes or a no, or they ask the wrong questions and get weak answers. You need to ask smart questions to get answers that are actually helpful. So let's jump into it. So the buying process in general. So many people think about buying a franchise and they want to do one or buy one based off of brand recognition. They think if the franchise has brand recognition, that's the best thing. That's the highest on their priority list, as they kind of had this list of a dream franchise that they want. That's not always the case. I mean, brand is great, but if a franchise has big brand recognition, most likely it's sold out in your market. Different strategy for a different time is, if that's really important to you, you might want to look at buying into a brand that is mature and franchisees are selling. And there's multiple, I have friends making millions of dollars doing that strategy in with a brand, buying out existing franchisees in that brand. And I have multiple friends doing that, and they're just making a killing. But that is, if you're wanting to get in and open one up from scratch, if it has brand recognition, most likely it means not available. Also, if you're like sending emails and trying to learn about some of these big brands, if they don't get back to you, it probably means they don't have territory open in your market. And they should get back to you and let you know that, but most of the time they don't. Just so you know. Also, a lot of people that are new to franchising, they rush in to the process of buying a franchise without really understanding a proven way to do it, a systematical way to buy and research. Well, I should say research and then buy a franchise. So we're going to talk about that. You need to have a process that you follow. That's one reason to work with brokers or consultants, because the best ones, which by the way, there's some that are amazing, a lot that are average, and a lot that, they were selling something else last week and today they're a franchise consultant or broker. So someone that knows franchising, that has helped buyers for years, or they have been a buyer, they've been a franchisee, or they've helped people buy franchises, they can really help you through that process. It's much more than just showing you a brand. It's about helping you understand some of the things that we're talking about today. So if you don't understand the process that you're going through, it's really easy to get lost. So here's how to approach it with the right mindset. You need to be able to research, validate, analyze, and ultimately make a decision. So some people get stuck in those too long. They will research and research and research. You got to go from researching to validating, actually talking to franchisees, seeing if this is the right one for you. finish your, analyzing everything that you've learned, and then make a decision. Some people get caught up in that third stage of analyzing the things that they've learned, and they will never make a decision. You have to make a decision. If you can't make a decision, that's your decision should be made for you. A franchisor should say, if you can't make a decision, I'll make it for you. No, you're not approved. And you should not be offended by that. You should say, thank you. I'll try to get better at making decisions later. But that's kind of the main kind of 4 large stages in the process. You also need to understand that franchisors are evaluating you, and it's not just the other way around. So yes, you are evaluating them, and from your perspective, your mindset, you think they're just selling you. Now, a lot of brands are just selling you. If you have a pulse and they're making a commission, they are making money off of franchise fees versus royalties, then you are probably getting sold. And they're probably not evaluating you very much. But the brands I'm involved with, the best brands out there, whether they have one franchisee or over 100 franchisees, the best ones are evaluating you too. They want to make sure you're going to be the right fit for them. You have the right amount of capital. You have the right attitude. You are teachable, coachable. You can execute all the things that they think will make you a success. That's what they want to see. I think that one of the bigger things is, can you just listen and follow a system, or do you have to be doing everything on your own and not going to listen, not going to try to follow the system first? And if that's the case, that's a big red flag for a franchisor. All right. So once you start to talk to franchisors, so maybe you've talked to a broker, or you've seen some lists on Franchise Business Review or Entrepreneur Magazine, or you just saw an ad online, and now you are in that franchisor's funnel. They have your name, phone number, and email, and they are going to be hunting you down to get on a call to see if you're going to be the right fit for them. So this is the stage that you're in right now. There's a stage before that where you really kind of need to understand what kind of business you want to be in. Most people think of franchising, they jump right into food. I think if you listen to this podcast, you know that there's a lot more to franchising than food. And one of the bigger things is, I think, what kind of employees do you want to manage? Do you want to be full-time in the business? Do you want to be part-time in the business? How scalable is that particular business? Those are kind of the things that you need to understand versus like, do you enjoy the widget of whatever it is? Some people enjoy, they like to eat cookies, so they think owning a crumble cookies would be great. Other people will be like, I don't care about cookies. I want something that has reoccurring revenue, has brick and mortar, customers come to them, etc. So those are the kind of the bigger questions that you need to answer. Then you get with a brand that you find somehow. Attention, franchisors and franchisees. There are 2 really important resources that I want to share with you that will help you avoid costly mistakes and increase your enterprise value. The first is our free Facebook group. It's a community that has over 4,000 franchisees and franchisors in it. When somebody asks a question, they get honest and authentic answers from multiple perspectives. You can join the group for free over at franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. The second resource I want to share with you is, if you're a franchisee and you want to be around a community of successful Zs and other brands and in other industries, this is why I created the Franchisee Mastermind. If you want access to the best single and multi-unit owners to know what they're doing, or if you want to be around other multi-brand owners, then you'll want to check out my Franchisee Mastermind. The reason why people join is they want access to my Rolodex, my connections, to each other. They want a shortcut success, both short-term and long-term. Links will be in the show notes or at scalablefranchise.com. This is 2 things you're going to run into. 1, you're going to be talking to a franchise development rep or the founder. Early on, founders kind of take people through the process. If a founder's taking you through the process, it's probably not super structured because they're just learning it themselves. Nothing wrong with that. And founders out there, if that's you, hit me up on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn and say, hey, I need a little bit of help just outlining my process, my franchise development, and I'll give you some free help. Send you some stuff to just kind of make it a little bit more structured for you. So franchise founders, if that's you, just hit me up on socials. Um, Otherwise, you're talking to the franchise development rep, somebody hired by the franchisor to take you through the franchise buying process. Their job is to sell you. They probably get paid a commission when you buy, but the best ones work for the franchisor, have to answer to the franchise founder or CEO to make sure you are the right fit. So the best ones ultimately are making sure you're the right fit for that brand. And they're going to take you through a process to see if their franchise is the right fit for you. So it's a fit on both sides. And so they're going to help you. They're paid by the franchisor, and they are in-house. The other way, uh, or the other group or person that you might be talking to, they work for a franchise sales organization, commonly called an FSO. These are outsourced teams that specialize in helping people evaluate the franchise. So just like a franchisor would pay an in-house person, they are now paying an outsourced agency to do that. Front Street Equity Partners, we are an FSO. We're a non-traditional FSO because we do things a little bit different for our franchisors, where we're more aligned with them, I think, than a traditional FSO. But I'm friends with all these FSOs out there, and there's some amazing ones, some great ones out there. I think if you are working with one of the top 3 to 4 FSOs like us, you will be taken through a very nice systematical process that you can feel comfortable that you've learned about that franchise brand. That's one of the nice things about working with an FSO. From a franchisor's perspective, they are paying that FSO when somebody buys. And so they are not out paying a salary the whole time. They're only paying if somebody buys. So that's the 2 different types of groups that you'll be working with. I think the biggest thing to understand is the franchisor's process. If you don't understand their process or don't follow their process, they're going to see it as a red flag. So you need to understand their process, be okay with that. Even though you might not like it, you may want to get some information sooner or later, but that's not really your call because you are following their process. And if you don't follow their process, they may see it as a red flag. I actually see it as a red flag if somebody's always wanting to jump ahead instead of just following the process. An example of that is you are one call in and you know how important it is to talk to franchisees. So you jump into validation way too early. You start calling franchisees and you go around the franchisor. They're like, "Hey, why don't you wait 2 weeks to understand these next 2 hours that I'm going to be educating you and then talk to franchisees." And you can talk to franchisees. They can't stop you from talking to franchisees, but they can say, this is what we prefer. And there's usually good reasons why. So 2 more weeks of information, 2 more weeks of understanding things, you will probably have better conversations with the franchisees. Again, if you jump ahead, they might see that as a red flag, even though you can do it. But you need to understand the support that you're going to get from the franchisor, how they've improved that support over, since they had that first franchisee, what they've learned, operations, financial expectations up front. You can talk about things that are in the FDD. Franchisors can't talk about things that aren't in the FDD. Item 7, those are the things that you are the expenses that you will have to start your business. Item 19, that's financial performance representations. They can choose to put stuff in there so that can help you as a buyer, but they don't have to put that in there. So anyway, those are kind of the things that you want to understand: support, operations, financials, etc. So here, this is where you kind of start. Here's some key steps in the buying journey with your initial research. You are looking in, and this kind of goes back to the beginning, like how do you even find a franchise unless you're working with a broker? You can look at franchise directories. They're all over online. Be careful. You put in your information. you'll start getting emails from everybody. So just understand that. That's great initial information. Sometimes it's historical information, but it's very basic stuff. Franchise expos, like go live. The advantage of an expo, if it's near you, you get to talk to the salesperson or maybe the founder. I have not personally found those very valuable as a franchisor or as a buyer, but some people do. But just, just be aware of that. I think the best place is you start to look at franchisor websites, and dig into that. Start listening to podcasts with the founder. I think that's a great thing to do. You listen to the podcast of these founders, and you're like, I like that person. This is somebody that I can get behind and follow. And then you learn a lot because they're telling their stories. They're telling you how they started, the things that they probably challenges they faced, how they overcame them, and to talk about maybe some of their franchisees, and then maybe some of their franchisees have been on podcasts, and you can listen to those. Groups like Franchise Secrets, the Facebook group. It's franchisesecretsgroup.com. If you want to join that, it's franchisesecretsgroup.com. And it's franchisees in there just talking about stuff. The other thing that when we talk to a brand at Front Street that's looking at working with us as an outsourced FSO or a strategic advisor, I have a 9-page prompt that I feed AI, and that prompt gives me all kinds of stuff on that franchisor. So I think you can use AI to start to do research. All right. Reviewing the FDD, I kind of hit that a little bit. That's that franchise disclosure document. Item 7 in that FDD, it's just the initial investment. It kind of breaks down a high and a low of that initial investment. I personally, whenever I'm buying a franchise, I like to figure the high side. So I'm ready for that. With inflation, building costs are going up. Everything's always going up. And that's historical, what they did last year and what they're projecting for this year. But in recent years, that just those numbers just seem to increase. So I always figure on the high side. I love it when franchisors have an item 19. We try to have really robust item 19s for the brands that we work with at Front Street Equity Partners, because I think it will show, revenue, expenses, profitability, no, EBITDA, all kinds of things that we try to put in there, different ratios, different KPIs. So the more information is in that item 19 is always better. And don't just skim that FDD. An important part of that is the actual franchise agreement. It's in there. Review that. That's what you're signing. Understand it. Have an attorney review it if you want. I've personally had attorneys review some of them that I've signed, and I haven't had some reviewed. That's up to you. I would never tell anybody to not have an attorney review it. That's just been a stance that I've always taken. So a lot of good attorneys review those out there. Back to franchise validation. This is kind of a make or break moment. You've got to ask the right questions. I have a list of questions. You can get it on franchisesecrets.com. I've got like 100 plus validation questions, but you have to ask the right questions. So many people ask franchisees the wrong questions. They waste time, they waste valuable feedback, decision-making type feedback, or they listen to the wrong ones. So, ask questions like, what do you love about the franchise? And they'll just start talking about it. So you want to understand the things that they actually love about it. What do you wish you had known before you signed? And just ask the question, let them talk. You notice these are open-ended kind of questions. So what do you love about it kind of talks about the positive things. What do you wish you had known before signing talks about some of the negative things, but it doesn't do it in a negative frame. So they'll say, hey, I wish I knew this. I wish I knew that that more people were renting larger spaces or smaller spaces, whatever it is, you want to understand it. And you're not looking for a one-off. You're looking for a theme, the theme of, boy, it's costing twice as much to build out than everybody thought, or boy, there's really good expectation setting. How responsive is the franchisor when you need help? Everybody's going to need help. How responsive is the franchisor? And if you're talking to somebody that was in there a year ago as a new franchisee, and if they say, "Oh, the franchisor wasn't very responsive," but then you talk to a franchisee that is just opening and they just opened up and they're like very responsive. You need to understand that you're really wanting to uh, uh, get a takeaway from that is the franchisor is learning from the things that they did wrong. Franchisors do all kinds of things wrong early on, everyone. So you want to franchisor that is doing better. So it's not like, check, they were responsive, weren't responsive. Are they improving? And then the main question, I ask it with franchisees that I validate with before we get involved with them at Front Street Equity Partners as an advisor or an FSO. Would you do it all over again? And then you just shut up and let them talk. It's so interesting. Some people, they have all kinds of things negative to say, but then I ask them, "Would you do it all over again?" And they're like, "Yep, for sure, 100%." So they must be happy about their lifestyle or something, because they would do it all over again. So you want to listen for consistencies, whether it's good or bad, like the things that you're hearing over and over. Like, you want to look for red flags. Are you hearing red flags, high turnover, complaints of lack of support? And just don't say, okay, lack of support. Like, why do you feel like there is a lack of support, franchisee? Here's another good one. What do you think about franchisors? Do you feel like they're growing a business, or do you feel like that they bought a job? And was that their expectation? And if it is, they feel like they bought a job, why? And so you can understand if they just can't delegate, or if this is a system where it really is more of a job. And those ones are out there. Again, I tend to listen to these top performers. I want to make sure why they're top performers. I learn about middle and bottom performers from the top performers, why they're bottom performers. I want to make sure I have the time, resources, skill sets, similar markets to the top performers. And so that's why it's important to me. Discovery Day, this is important. Um, this is where you meet with the franchise leadership team. They are looking for you to understand that business model. Ask really good questions. They're looking for someone that follows the system, not the rogue entrepreneur that wants to reinvent everything. So, how do you stand out? How do you come into that? You come prepared. Great questions, things that you've learned, things that you need clarification on. And here's one of the biggest things. You need to make a decision after Discovery Day. Discovery Day, Confirmation Day, Meet the Team Day is not the time to learn a bunch of stuff. That's not the time to like learn everything that you should have learned along the way. This is the time to validate, analyze, analyze everything that you've done, validate it at Discovery Day, shake hands, look the founders and the team in the eye, make sure they are what you expected them to be, and then it's time to make a decision. You should leave Discovery Day with a yes or a no in your mind. And if you don't, it's probably going to be a no. But you need to be like, yep, I'm ready to move forward with these guys. Doesn't mean you're moving forward right then and there. It's like, yeah, franchisor, it's a yes, I'm ready to move forward, or no, it's not. It's crazy how many people cannot make a decision. I've seen it over and over. For some reason, people just have a lot of fear throughout this whole process because they've never done it before most of the time. And fear is called all kinds of things. It's called, I didn't hear this. I didn't get this information. I don't like this. It's retail. It's food. It's fear is really excuses of why you don't want to buy. It's really fear. So you just need to understand, is it fear or are these legitimate reasons I should not be buying? And you just need to make a decision, a yes or a no. That's my advice. I would definitely get my list of 100 validation questions. Just go to franchisesecrets.com, get into the Franchise Secrets Facebook group, get active in there, just ask questions. And then I would say, to kind of recap all this, you follow that structured process so you can avoid mistakes, know who you're talking to, ask those right questions, you do that franchisee validation, and then Discovery Day, that's where you are going to make a decision after Discovery Day. So buying a franchise is, like, probably for most people, one of the biggest financial decisions they'll ever make. You do it right, it can be life-changing. It was for me. You do it wrong, you rush it, it could cost you everything. I've seen that as well. Do it the right way, and I hope you found it helpful. All right, that's a wrap. See ya. Thanks for listening to the Franchise Secrets podcast. Links to everything can be found over at franchisesecrets.com. And if you want my help with anything from starting your own franchise to growing your current franchise business, please visit scalablefranchise.com.